Well, it's day 15 and I'm out in the yard. I pulled all of the plants that were around this ponderosa lemon, cut the basil all back, and dumped all that stuff, also all those great big nasturtiums that were growing everywhere. Dumped all that back in the garden. Trimmed off the peppers. Now, it said that they should be about 22,000 on the scale of hotness, which is hot. I mean, it's not like a habanero or a ghost pepper, but I have to tell you, I wore gloves. And when I'm just cutting, not into the pepper, just the stem, and all of a sudden I could feel like this weird sensation in my lungs. And it was like, those peppers are hotter than they're telling me. And I touched my phone with my gloves, and I thought I got it all wiped off afterwards, put it to my face, and it literally was burning right here. So, they're hot. Now, lots more to do today, and I will bring you along, and tonight I will finish the video, but it's day 15 on our way back to Wyoming. So first we're at one of my citrus trees. It's a ponderosa lemon, which is a huge lemon. It has all these nasturtiums and basil and all this stuff all the way around it. But I'm going to pull those all up. I'm going to trim up the basil, and that way the basil can grow over the summertime like it did last year, and it got huge again. But the nasturtiums won't be taking up all of that water when it gets really hot. So here's one of the basil plants that I actually just pulled up from the roots, and it's hanging upside down right now. And I'm actually going to dry it the way it is, but I have a little bit of a trick, so I'm going to show you that in just a minute. But it's a beautiful plant. Now, these basils are perennials down here. I planted it about a year and a half ago now. And I've harvested some of the seeds, but it's basically going to seed. And so I'm going to trim it all back, and that way it can grow again. I'll leave some of the green, but for the most part, I'm going to cut all those branches off. And it smells unbelievably fabulous. So I'm going to dry some of those in the oven, besides the plant that I actually pulled up. But see how thick those stalks are? And so I'm just leaving a little bit of the green. I'm pulling out some of the other plants that were around the ponderosa lemon too. But it is a hardy plant. So you can see, I just really whacked those babies. But it'll give it a lot more water to the actual ponderosa lemon instead. The sunflowers are still back there, but you can see it's already setting lemons that I'll be able to harvest next fall when I come back. And it is netted because of this little rascal. He loves the leaves. And so I caught him while I was out there. The water had just started, and he's down in the water, and he's taking leaves. I understand they use it for moisture. Where is that little guy? Oh, there he is again. But he's a rascal. He comes over, he squawks at me, talks to me. But there's a lot of them here. They're called northern mockingbirds, though we're in the south, which is kind of funny. But they do sing beautifully. So that I have to give them credit for. So he's wandering around looking for leaves. He goes down there, gets a little bit of water. So it's okay. So the water is going to literally fill up that trench. It's going to run for about 35 minutes, and it will just soak it. There's the sunflowers. I actually pulled them up with some twine because they were getting so heavy on the head that they were falling over. So here's some of the basil I'm bringing inside. So I'm taking the leaves off. Now see, these are green stems right here, not the woody part. And so when you get closer to the top, you're better off just pinching it with your fingers. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut it at an angle. And I'm going to put it in some water on my windowsill that gets morning sun, but no direct sun in the afternoon. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to get a bunch of those branches. I'm going to dry some of these in the oven, actually. There's a few of them in there. And I cut some atomic tomatoes today to root also that I can take back. But the leaves are beautiful, and my house smells amazing because I love basil. So that's plenty enough to bring back, and I'll change the water every day or every other day. I'm not going to put anything in the water. It's just plain tap water. That's all it is. Now I heated my oven to 170 because that's my lowest, and I turned it off. Then I'm going to put these leaves in there and just let them sit till tomorrow. And we'll see what they look like tomorrow. If I need to heat the oven up a little bit again, I will. But I just want them to slowly dry. So we are back outside with that great big bush that I pulled out. See Max in the background. Now this bag is actually a tomato bag. You put it over top of your tomato. It'll help with hail, bugs, a lot of different things. And I have a few of them down here. So I'm going to just put that in there. And it has a drawstring so I can get that really tight. I'm going to wrap it around a few times. A few different reasons. One, it's easy to dry like that. If there's any seeds, they will fall down into the bag and I won't lose the seeds. And it's totally protected. No flies, no bugs, nothing can get on it. And I really like these for drying herbs, and I like them for my tomato plants. So here it is from the other side. Now if I let it hang right there, it would get way too much sun. So I'm going to just lift it up higher. And so those blinds will let it have a little bit of filtered sun. But everything will dry. If some of the leaves fall off, they'll go in the bag still. Now the peppers. Now I literally pulled these out yesterday. And I put some gloves on because they are 22,000 on the heat scale. And I'm just going to go through it. I'm going to just pick all these off. They're beautiful colors, anywhere from green to orange, yellow, red. And I'm just going to put them all in a bowl. But they are really hot. And then one branch has these little teeny short fat ones. But as I was cutting, the smell was very intense in my throat, my lungs. But they're beautiful peppers. I'm going to send a few out to a few friends. Now our towers. This is how I hold my towers so they don't tip over in the wind. Are those pieces of rebar. So Joe was pounding them in between the citrus trees for me. And towards the end to the cul-de-sac. Now we're not going to put the towers back together today. We will do that when we get back. The idea is that they're going to go straight down, but that second one is kind of leaning. Another job for today. All of my covers for if it would frost, I'm folding those all up. They're all going into my garden shed. I have some Dusty Millers. Now I love these because I like the color difference and the shape of the leaves. And they will grow and survive in this heat. So I'm at my flower bed on the side of the house. I'm pulling up a time that once it got to be about 100 degrees, it was too hot for it. And so I'm going to bury those deep, and then of course I'll water them in good. You water them in good because you want the soil to settle around the roots so that there's not very big huge air pockets. And I have 6 plants to plant. So 3 of them are going to go here. I've turned the little sprinkler system that we have along that long flower bed, but I'm also going to take my watering can and I'm going to give it a good soak. I'm going to leave it for a couple hours and I'm going to water it again, just so that it really settles in there. They're a tough plant and they get this beautiful mound of color. And those 2 little plants that I'm watering right there are called a popcorn bush. It's a beautiful plant. Okay, here's all my tower stuff. I can't just leave them stacked like that. I have to spray them out. I didn't have any disease in any of my towers, but you just never know what's lurking in that soil. So I am going to take my hose and I am going to spray them all out, get all the extra dirt out of there, any roots that are stuck in there. And it won't take me that long, probably a half hour to wash all of them out. And we're just going to speed that up. And I'm just going to do every single one of them. And it will be a good thing. If I had disease at all, I would actually soak it in some bleach water too. But there they are. I'm going to leave them out there for a couple hours, let all the water dry out, and then they're stacked. When we're ready to go, they can go in the shed. Now here's my list. I'm just so excited. I got about a fourth of it done. And we're at day 15. So I'm really pretty much on schedule. And I am liking that. Well, it's the end of work day 15. Countdown to Wyoming. Now I'm going to go work on some fused glass. Joe's gone to karate jiu-jitsu class. So he won't be back until about 7:30. And then we're going to barbecue a couple steaks. Have some baked potatoes. A great end to a day. I think we might even have fire tonight in the fire pit. So that should be fun. But I have about a quarter of my list done. And some of the things I can't do till just before. Videos to do. Things to box up. So it is good times in Arizona. Today, about 87 I think was supposed to be the high today. And back home, I think the high was 28. So that I am not missing. I talked to my sister this morning, and she lives in Wyoming also, but not in the same town as I live. And it has been cold there. They had lots of snow. In fact, she sent me a picture, and the icicle is actually pushed out because the wind was blowing it too hard. So it was melting and freezing, and it was going this way instead of straight down. That's too cold. Seriously, it's too cold. But end of day 15 tomorrow, day 14, and more things to check off my list. If you haven't seen, Gail at Gail Southern Living asked me if I would do one of her challenges. It is what you can do with container gardening, thinking outside the box. And so I just showed some of the things because that is right up my alley. Because I like thinking outside the box. I will see you tomorrow.